If getting out your child out the door feels like negotiating in a hostage release every single morning, you're not just imagining it. The screen off for dinner battle, the meltdown leaving the grocery store, that Sunday night dread before the school week even starts, the 45-minute standoff over a pair of socks or jeans, right? Transitions are one of the most common flashpoints for kids today, and they hit the hardest for kids with ADHD, with anxiety, or sensory processing disorder. And the harder that you try to manage the behavior, the more stuck that everyone gets. Parents tell us all the time, I've tried every reward chart, every visual timer, every deep breath breathing thing, and nothing sticks. And here's what most parenting advice misses. Smoother transitions aren't really a behavior problem. It's a nervous system issue. But once you understand what's actually happening within your child's brain and in their body during a change, everything shifts, including what kind of help actually moves the needle forward. So we see it every single week in our office. A parent walks in exhausted, describing the same scene over and over. Mornings end in tears. Transitions at school require teacher intervention. Pickup is chaos. Bedtime's a 2-hour standoff. And the child often has already been labeled, sometimes with ADHD, sometimes with anxiety or sensory processing disorder. And families have already tried therapies and parenting books and accommodations and every transition tool that's talked about onto the internet. And some things help a little. None of it gets to the root. And parents say some version of the same thing of, I feel like I'm failing. They're not. They're navigating a child whose nervous system can't downshift and downregulate. And there's no amount of better parenting that's going to change that on its own. So the numbers back up why these struggles cluster together. There was a 2022 national survey that found anxiety was most common among co-occurring conditions in kids with ADHD, affecting roughly 4 in 10. That overlap isn't a coincidence. These conditions share a common neurological root. And until you address the root, you're chasing symptoms in a system that doesn't simply have the capacity to settle. So let's dive into it. So transitions actually demand a lot from a developing brain. Transitions ask the brain to disengage, hold the next step in mind, and shift gears all at once. Researchers call this skill set shifting, moving attention from one task to another. It runs on executive function in our prefrontal cortex, this cool part of the brain up here, which keeps maturing into the mid-20s. For kids with ADHD and anxiety and sensory challenges that are on the spectrum, these circuits develop differently. The harder the brain's already working, the more taxing every switch becomes. So a small request like put on your shoes can land like a much bigger one. Point 2 is that a stressed nervous system cannot downshift appropriately. You see, the autonomic nervous system works like a car with your gas pedal and your brake pedal. The sympathetic fight or flight branch is the gas pedal, activation and alertness and go. We want that to turn on when we need it. The parasympathetic is the rest and digest branch. It's the brake pedal, it's the calm, it's the regulation, it's the ability to adapt. Now, many kids today live with a stuck gas pedal and a weak brake pedal, driven by an underactive vagus nerve. Now, this imbalance is what's called dysautonomia, and it keeps the body in low-grade alarm 24/7. So ordinary change registers as a threat, and then meltdowns follow. Point number 3, ADHD, anxiety, and sensory processing disorder share the same root cause. Now, the diagnosis on the chart may differ, but the underlying neurological pattern looks strikingly similar. All three involve sympathetic dominance, the gas pedal stuck to the floor, and a reduced capacity for flexible, regulated brain states. Now, a child with ADHD finds it almost physically painful to break away from a preferred activity. A child with anxiety is flooded with worry before the change even arrives. And a child with sensory processing disorder is already overworking to process the sound, the light, the touch, the environment. Now, this is why behavior charts often fall flat. You can't discipline a nervous system into regulate. So the big idea here is that there is a perfect storm behind this nervous system dysregulation. Now, the perfect storm is a stack of early stressors that overwhelm a developing nervous system. And it often starts with prenatal stress because cortisol crosses the placenta and primes hypersensitivity. And then birth trauma with C-sections, forceps, vacuums, inductions, or a stalled labor strain the upper back and strain the upper neck and the body. And then early years pile on with antibiotics and ear infection and falls and screens and an overstimulating world. Each stressor alone might not be a big deal, but stacked together, they leave the system stuck onto the gas. And the result is subluxation, the neurological interference that keeps the stress response locked onto the body. So this is what actually helps at home and beyond. Predictability for these kids is actually what decreases anxiety. So giving previews and countdowns so that the brain has time to prepare instead of getting blindsided. We got to build predictable routines. The same sequence each morning transitions into habits. We got to add movement because movement is so calming and regulating for the body. So a quick stretch or jumping jacks or running back and forth helps discharge that stressful energy. And really, parents, and this is the tough one, we got to protect sleep. It's when the brain actually recharges its regulatory capacity. And for us as parents, we got to stay regulated ourselves because kids co-regulate with the adults around them. And when home strategies aren't enough, it's a signal that the nervous system needs deeper support. So if your child keeps melting down through every transition, no matter what it is that you've tried, it's not a parenting failure. It's not a discipline problem. It's not something that they'll just grow out of on their own. It's a sign that the nervous system needs more support than what home strategies alone can give. Now, at Haven Family Chiropractic in Katy, Texas, we use the advanced insight scans like heart rate variability, surface EMG, and thermal scans to see exactly where the nervous system is stuck and what's driving that dysregulation. And then from there, gentle specific adjustments actually help restore that balance, ease that brake or that gas pedal, and bring the brake pedal back online. And as that happens, parents tell us the daily flashpoints soften, easier mornings, fewer meltdowns at pickup, smoother bedtimes, and more flexibility when plans change. Because your child doesn't need another label, they need more answers. So check the link within our bio, send us a DM, or visit Haven Family Chiropractic to be able to schedule your consultation and evaluation today.